Let's begin in Azerbaijan, where the United Nations has warned that 2024 will be the hottest year on record as world leaders from around 200 nations gather at Cop29 in oil-producing nation of Azerbaijan. The Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework on Climate Change, Simon Stiell, at the opening ceremony of the 29th session of the Climate Change Conference, calls on countries to agree on a new climate finance goal. He said parties must work harder to ensure that the global financial system is reformed in order to provide countries with the fiscal space they need. Mr. Stiell noted that clean energy investments are skyrocketing, expected to hit $2 trillion next year, double what's spent on fossil fuels. Esther Omokwariola gives us overview on the annual climate conference in Baku.
And of course, to all of you, the negotiators here today, I thank you for showing the world what real, tangible progress looks like. You united all parties to move forward together. You proved that multilateralism can move the dial. In the end, determination conquered doubt. And your hard work paid off with the first after first for climate progress.
This crisis is affecting every single individual in the world, one way or another. And I am as frustrated as anyone that one single COP can't deliver the full transformation that every nation needs. But if any of your answers to those questions was no, then it is here that parties need to agree a way out of this mess.
The United Nations Climate Change Conference, Cop29, has kicked off in Baku, Azerbaijan. Well, this year's conference is a huge chance to bring together people from all walks of life, leaders from governments, businesses and civil society, all ready to collaborate on creating a healthier, more sustainable world. Well, climate change is a big issue on the table, and COP29 is all about finding real solutions. One of the biggest focus here is on finance, and it's no secret that fighting climate change is going to take a lot of resources, trillions in fact, to help countries cut down greenhouse gas emissions and protect their communities from the increasing impacts of climate change. Representatives from Lagos and Nigeria are here already in Baku with a strong climate agenda and high hopes for meaningful progress. And they, alongside other delegates from around the world, are expected to commit new emission reductions, step up the adaptation efforts and show progress on previous promises. Well, this is also a key moment for countries to present updates on their climate action plans under the Paris Agreement, with new plans due by early 2025. Esther Omokwariola, TVC News, Azerbaijan.
Esther Omokwariola is still in Baku, Azerbaijan, and she's joining me live on the news. Esther, thanks so much for joining us. Now that the world leaders are gathering together to have a conversation on the issues that are affecting the entire universe, what more do we know about this COP29?
All right, so Ibrahim, I would say the COP29 conference is still underway in Azerbaijan with the Minister of Ecology. I think I heard a little bit of the soundbite there played, although it was the COP28 president that spoke, but he highlighted that during his opening, stressing that urgent need is required to address the climate change crisis, especially with the recent rise in climate-related disasters. And despite the political and financial hurdles, if you like, he's kind of hopeful now that these investments will pay off in the long run. Well, adding to this now, the COP28 president, talking about Sultan Jabbar, highlighted that, 55 countries already have signed to, increase renewable energy use. Many more need to, get on board because it's a really dire situation. And like what the UN Climate Executive Chief said, that's Simon Stiell, is urging countries to be strongly committed to the finance goal because he's calling it as a crucial step, not charity, to help countries handle the climate disasters. Well, he also pointed out that the global investment in clean energy now is set to double, the fossil fuel spending next year. And with that, a shift is happening. He also said that there needs to be an acceleration in that regard. Ibrahim.
Right, if I understand, it's going to go as long as from the 11th, to 22nd of this month. But so, what are the expectations, as they convene together to have this conversation, affecting the world? What more do we expect from them?
Well, the expectations are kind of mixed, and there's a little bit of sense of urgency and worry in the air, with many hoping that this climate action or the climate crisis might be a little bit delayed, and the promises are kind of weak because this meeting, comes on the heels of some tragic events that happened. If you remember, the flash floods in Valencia, Spain, which took about 200 lives, and of course the devastation in Hurricane Helene in the United States. Well, and of course, scientists have also been warning that extreme weather events like this will only increase unless we act fast to cut carbon emissions. So, but countries are still struggling now to agree on a tough decision, needed now to limit global warming, which is a huge cause for concern. And it's kind of been hard to be optimistic here. So, but last year, Cop28 in the UAE was quite disappointing for some leaders because they discussed limiting fossil fuels, but left plenty of loopholes to an extent. So, what there is, to an extent, a more of a debatable talk on the reduction of carbon emissions, but that still needs to be captured. Some of them say it can be captured through technology, while some say it's simply not, they don't have the capacity to capture emissions on a large scale. So fossil fuels continue to be burned at record rates, and the United Nations is warning that at the current pace, global temperatures could rise to disastrous levels like 3.1 degrees by 2050. That means we see more events like the Valencia flood in Spain, which could become more regular. They could have more intense storms, could have more floods, could have more heat waves and the likes around the world. But on the bright side, there is this talk on renewable energy, which is growing, especially in countries like China, which is also leading the way in solar power. But even still, China is still heavily dependent on coal.
That's right.
So balancing progress within its emission, its targets can be a huge task, if you ask me. So, but however, there's also the issue of the United States, which has also been said to overuse its carbon budget. And so the president of the United States.
All right, Esther, if you can hear me, we just quickly need to raise on now. We definitely keep close tabs on, with you on this development that are going on there, especially with the Cop29 chief secretary who was secretly filmed, promoting fossil fuel deals.